Hey guys, Chris at Rockford Ordnance. You got the new rifle. It's really cool. You've been waiting for it. What do you need next? You need an optic. Something to help you shoot a little better, something to have more fun with. You open up a web page and you go to scopes or optics, and holy cow, it's mass confusion. There is so much stuff out there, you don't even know where to begin. Whether it's for an AK or an AR, we're gonna help you figure it out a little bit. Look at this, guys. This is just the beginning of maybe one web page worth of stuff. We've got Strike Eagles, we've got Holosuns, we've got Strike Fires, we've got primary arms, ACSS reticles, we've got EOTechs, we've got sniper rifle scopes, we've got Prism scopes, we've got red dots, and then we've got all the stuff to mount them with. How do you figure this all out? I don't know, but we're gonna help you on it. Come on along, let's take a look at this stuff. So, back in the day it was fairly easy, right? You got a rifle, you put a 6 power, 9 power, a 3x9 power scope on it, and you were done. Then came the advent of bullet drop compensators, and then came red dots and holographic and all this stuff, and now you look at a modern sporting rifle and you wonder, where do I start? For the beginners, guys, it can be confusing to say the least. So, we're gonna start out this video, mainly we're talking about AK-47s, AR-15s, sporting rifles, stuff we use every day, and some of the options out there. We're not gonna get into the details. We're not gonna tell you all the, what's good about them, what's bad about them. We may touch on a few things, but this is kind of a general overall video of what's available out there, what kind of distance range or use of purpose they'll fall into. And then from there, we're gonna do videos on each and every one of these and kind of break them down for you. But this is just to get you thinking about what direction to go to for the guys that frankly don't know yet. We're gonna try and help you out. So, I think when we talk about modern sporting rifles, the first thing that pops to mind is probably a red dot. And you think, well, okay, red dot, that's easy enough, simple enough. Well, no, it's not, because they break down into a few categories too. And yeah, for you guys that know the difference between a red dot or a prism scope or a holographic, and you say, well, they're each different categories. Yeah, technically, I guess they are, but for simpleness today, we're just going to kind of lump them together here, and then we'll break it down further later. So, here is an example of a micro red dot. This is a primary arms advanced micro red dot. Typically, you're gonna find them, a lot of makers out there, Vortex, Primary Arms, Aimpoint, all these different companies, but essentially what they are is an LED light that's projected onto the front lens here that has a coating that reflects it. And you see a red dot out there, and essentially you put the red dot on the target you want to hit and you pull the trigger and boom, you got a hit, hopefully. Very easy, probably the fastest sight acquisition of any optic out there. The LEDs, probably the pros to them, extremely long battery life. Some of these, like this one, 50,000 hours. You can leave them on all the time so they're ready. Let's say it's a defensive weapon next to the bed or something like that. And super simple, right? They're good, 0 to 100 yards, even 200 if you had to push it. Very reliable, very lightweight. So, a couple other types of red dots that kind of fall in there. You've got holographic sights. A holographic sight I can best show you here. This was one of my original optics purchases. This is an EOTech 512. I've had this about 13 years. And the great thing about red dots, holographic sights, etc., are that they're very versatile. So this thing started out life on my first AR-15. From there, it went to this rifle. I'm going to be juggling rifles here, guys. This is going to be a little hard to do here. Then it went to my Alpha clone rifle here. A lot of times you'll see Alpha clones used by Russian Special Forces, and a lot of them tend to use the EOTech 512s on them. So I thought it was a good look when I had it on here, and it worked out great. Like I said, they work on just about any platform, AR, AK, etc. So from there, it went to my Vepr 12 shotgun, and it works out extremely well on this particular shotgun. It lines up perfectly. Big, clear view of everything. You shoot red dots with two eyes open, guys, so you don't lose any peripheral vision. You line it up and go, and with the EOTech, it's a very large viewfinder, so very good sight picture. The other type you can throw in there are reflex sights. Main difference with a reflex sight is that they are just projected and housed in a different manner. So your light is back here and projected up onto a front screen, rather than have, you know, glass in the back and glass in the front. You just have glass in the front. So it may keep some rain or moisture off it, you know, having just the front glass to really worry about. These also have very large sight pictures. Matter of fact, if I had to pick just one red dot, it would be this Holosun 510C. I like it for a lot of reasons. Number one, that big sight picture, right? I can really just see everything. The glass is super clear. Also, this one has solar capabilities. It'll run without the battery even in it. Super long battery life. I can also change the reticle on it from a circle to a dot, or have the circle and the dot, all kinds of cool stuff. They make them in black too. These run about 400 bucks or so. Just a great sight. Still compact, a little larger than the micro red dots, but still very compact. Just a great versatile sight. Again, perfect for 0 to 100 yards. That's why I have it on this CZ Scorpion. But I also have one on an AR-15, and I would not be afraid to put one on one of my AKs. So that's another type. Then you also have the aim point style, which is this, a 30 millimeter tube. And essentially the same deal, right? Red dot in the middle. You don't have as large a field of vision. You really don't. But it's just a great system, and they're very rugged. This happens to be a primary arms, or I'm sorry, this happens to be a vortex strike fire, modeled after the aim point, and just a nice unit. It works out great on ARs. Puts it right at perfect eye level, and I like it a lot. Again, 0 to 100, yes, you could push it out to 200 or so. Now, we're gonna talk about Prism sights. A lot like red dots in a lot of ways. They are a projected beam, but you also have the reticle, which is etched into the glass. So if your illumination goes dead, etc., you still have that etched glass, just like you would looking down a regular scope. This one also happens to have an ACSS reticle. This is a primary arms Prism scope. It's 3 power. That's the other thing. They make these, you know, just like a red dot, but Prism, and they make them in a 1 power, which is no magnification. Then they make low magnification fixed scopes as well, 3 power, 2 power, 5 power even. And the difference between this really is you've got to worry more about eye relief than you do on the red dots. When you're talking strictly the other red dots we showed you here, you can mount those really in any position, rear, center, forward, like a scout mount, and it really doesn't detract from being able to pick that up. Whenever you go to something like this, you're going to have eye relief, so you have to be within so many inches. When they talk about eye relief, it's the distance between your eye and the rear lens. So if they say 2.5 inch eye relief, that's about where it needs to be set for you to get a full vision in the scope tube. So right about here, I've got full vision. Back here, I don't. So if you're worried about where you can mount it, this may or may not work for you. A red dot will work anywhere. So for instance, when it comes to issues with where to mount things, this Mini Draco is a perfect gun to show you. I don't have a side rail to mount it back here. The only place to mount something is on this tiny little dust cover here. So a micro red dot, in this case a Bushnell, fits perfectly in there. Really kind of my only choice. I could have done a mini reflex or something like that, but these Bushnell TR25s, I think, super cheap, well under $100, fits perfectly. I've had this on a ton of different guns. It never fails for the money. It's a great scope, great red dot, and tons of adjustability and brightness, and I can co-witness with the iron sights. That's a big plus too, should this go dead. One other thing I should mention about that Holosun I showed you guys, one of the other big pluses, and I failed to mention it, is it comes with a quick detach mount here, and you can just simply take the lever and pop it right off. They're waterproof, everything. I just love these things. It's come a little loose. I'm gonna have to tighten that up. We were shooting the heck out of this thing, and I've never had it come loose like that. I'm gonna have to see if it just worked itself loose or what. So far we've covered the red dot family of sights, which I included the holographic sights in there, and the prismatic, and let's see, the reflex sight. All kind of do the same job. The prismatic scopes, obviously the eye relief can be an issue, and you know, those are great for CQB. When you get into low fixed power prismatic scopes, those, like that 3 power I put on my NPAP there, that's great for those mid ranges, 100 to 200 yards, or CQB at low 3 power or 2 power. I can still run 2 eyes open with that thing for CQB, and I can reach out a little further. I would guess even 300 yards wouldn't be too bad with that scope, but 200 for sure. When it gets anything past there, I'm gonna head out to scope with more magnification. And some of the tactical scopes work out really well. This is a variable 1x6. Very, very versatile. All of these, for that matter, all of these optics are very versatile. The red dots, let's say 1 to 200, low magnification prismatic, let's say CQB all the way to 300, and then when it comes to these 1x6, I can actually run this in a CQB situation down at 1 power. Although I don't have the fast sight acquisition, you know, I have to be lined up with the tube, and the eye relief has to be right. If I can get a quick and consistent cheek weld, it can be very fast, while not as fast as a red dot, still fast. And I can then dial it up to 4, 5, 6 power and really reach out there. These have ACSS reticles. For the guys that don't know, it's essentially they etch a whole bunch of information right on the glass. It will range your targets, tell you how far away they are. It will adjust for bullet drop and range. So I'll have my 0, let's say at 50 yards. It's good through 50 to 100. Then I got another point of aim at 200, 250, 300, 400, 500, 600. And these scopes, the reticles, are adjusted for the cartridge. For instance, this one is for 7.62 by 39 or 300 blackout. I've got another ACSS reticle here that's good for 223 or 308. And all those different markings align with the ballistics of those calibers. It can even adjust for moving targets and for wind drift. So a lot of information. You can use it quickly. You don't have to be doing all kinds of clicks and mathematics and all that stuff to get some quick shots off. So I use these for my 3-gun rigs, my AR 3-gun. On this AR, it makes this super versatile. I can do anything with this rifle on this Krebs rifle here. I'll show it to you. This is essentially the same scope, but instead of primary arms, it's made by Vortex. It's a Strike Eagle. Same thing, 1x6. However, this is kind of a version of the ACSS, but for 223. And again, very versatile. I can go from CQB at 25 yards all the way out to 600 yards. You know, on the 7.62 platform there, 600 yards is kind of wishful. You start getting bullet destabilization out that far. On the 223, not so much. So it's a little more true to form, I guess you'd say, but works out great. Some of the drawbacks to these, there's a lot more weight to them than a red dot. Kind of similar to the prismatic scopes in weight, maybe a little bit more. This I have mounted with a vortex mount. It's not a quick release, but I tend to mount these and leave them. Then, let's see what else we can show you. Then, you know, you go out to kind of your standard scope, high-powered scope. This is set up for 223, and it does have sort of an ACS reticle on it. So it does all those fun features of ranging and bullet drop compensation. I do have the tactical turrets where I can make my mill clicks and adjustments. It is illuminated, and this is kind of weird for a scope like this. It's actually 2.5 power to 10 power. Most of what you see are going to start at about 4 power to maybe 16 or so, but I like this because at 2.5 I could still use it fairly close in, and at 10 power I could really get out there, you know, 500, 600 yards if I had to without much of a problem. And that's how we set up this DMR rifle. So gives you a few choices there. Most of these are pretty versatile when you think about it. You know, the tactical scopes 1 to 6, very versatile. The Prism scope at 3 power, very versatile, can use it for CQB or out a little further. And the red dot, very versatile. I wanted to talk to you about cost on these. Everything you've seen here today is pretty much what I would call a budget scopes. The most expensive of all of them are this one. This had a list of $750, but on a sale I got it for I think $250 or $260. And with the exception of the EOTech at maybe $400, the rest are all in that $200 to $300 range, some $80 for the red dots, so they're all very affordable. If you've done any type of looking, you know that there's scopes out there you can drop $4 grand, $5 grand, $6 grand on a Leopold like nothing. You know, what's the old saying? Well, spend more on the glass than you do on the rifle. Well, I don't know. Maybe if I had one super special califragilistic rifle, I might, but you can get a lot of good glass today for not a lot of money. I like the word versatile. That's what it comes down to. Let's face it, guys, you buy a rifle today, you're trying to save some money, to buy a versatile optic that you can use on several different rifles, maybe switch it back and forth while you're saving for another one until you get a package put together for that specific rifle, can save you some money and you can still go out and have a lot of fun. I think if I had to do it and save a bunch of money and have like maybe 3 different optics that I could use between rifles, I would probably go with the Holosun 510C. I would go with the primary arms, this one. I just like it a little better than the Strike Eagle. I'd go with the primary arms 1x6 scope, and then I would top it off with this. I think with those 3 optics, there's not much I couldn't do, or not many platforms I couldn't fit them to. Now, you need mounts for these optics, right? So you can do your standard cantilever mounts if you have an AR-15. Those work out real well. If you're doing a red dot, most of the red dots will mount to a Picatinny mount or come with the mount, so not really a big deal there. If you're putting it on an AK, you know, the best mount going out there is an RS Regulate, and that's what's on here. They're a 2-piece mount. You have the base, and then you have your choice of 3 or 4 different top pieces. This one happens to be what they call an ACOG mount, and it fits this Prism scope real well. Do I have another RS Regulate here? Yes. This is a forward biased Picatinny mount. They make a full rail Picatinny mount, a whole bunch of things. You can custom tailor it to whatever you want. These run, I don't know, 120 bucks for the bottom piece, and probably about $70 for whatever top piece you're gonna put in. So 120 and 70, and they're super light. They work incredibly well. They're accurate. They hold 0. You never have to worry about them. Careful there, do your research, guys, because there's different mounts for standard AKMs versus Yugoslavian. Everybody's got slightly different mounts. So you might want to make sure you know what you're getting into there. One of the other mounts I like a lot for AKs is made by Arsenal, and I've got a couple of them. Here's one on the Krebs rifle. These are a 1-piece mount. They clamp on, and they are full Picatinny, really long. They weigh a little more, but it gives you a lot of real estate up there, and for this particular scope worked well. I have 2 actually for this Krebs rifle, and I always kept them set up and ready to go. One with the 1x6, and the other one I had the EOTech on, and that way I could switch between the EOTech for close quarters and this for longer work, and could really get my use and versatility out of one rifle. So, not a bad way to go. I think we covered everything there. I know it's quick, I know it's brief. We'll get into each and every one of these optics. I'll bring you some reviews on there, so if something caught your eye, you'll be able to get all the information you need on them. But just to recap, red dots, which I included holographic, reflex, and even the Prism in there. Mid-range, low power, fixed scopes like that Primary Arms Prism scope, 3-power, and then your higher powered variable scopes like the Primary Arms, the Strike Eagle, and also that Primary Arms 2.5 by 10. So a lot of options, but you can kind of break them down into 3 categories, a couple different mounts. And I think with 2 or 3 of these optics, you could just about cover everything in your arsenal and not blow a ton of money. So hope this helped you out, just to give you a little short course in kind of deciphering. You go to Optics Planet or Primary Arms and you see pages and pages and pages of scopes. Kind of breaks it down into the basic categories, helps you pick from there. Decide what you want to do with the rifle, decide what type of distances you're going to be shooting, and decide what your budget is, and that'll help you narrow it down into one of these 3 categories. Hope this helped you guys. Please check out our Instagram page, check out our Facebook page. We're posting a lot more to both, so check it out. There's some cool photos and stuff of a lot of these rifles I think you'll like. Please click the bell down below so you get notifications when we start bringing out the videos on these scopes. And like and subscribe. And as always, Rockford Ordnance out.